Today we are going to be taking a deep dive into some pretty wild stuff happening over at Intel.
Yeah.
If you've been uh, following the AI hardware world at all, you know that Intel has been trying to get a foothold. And recently there was a pretty big announcement that they are canceling their Falcon Shores GPU.
Yeah.
And we've got this article from Tom's Hardware that kind of breaks down all the details.
Right.
So I'm really interested to kind of dig into this with you and see what we can uncover.
Yeah, definitely.
So Falcon Shores was supposed to be, this huge leap forward for Intel.
Yeah, this was going to be their answer to Nvidia, basically.
Yeah.
They were talking about multi-chiplet design.
Right.
Potentially really improving the performance and efficiency even over their existing Gaudi processors.
Yeah. The article mentions that it was supposed to be like a really big jump in performance and efficiency.
Right.
So like what happened?
Yeah.
Why would they just scrap this project that seems like it had so much potential?
Yeah. It's tough to say for sure, but the article quotes Intel's interim co-CEO saying that industry feedback was a big part of the decision. So reading between the lines, it sounds like maybe Falcon Shores just wasn't competitive, up against the big players like Nvidia.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be pretty bad feedback to completely scrap a project of that scale.
Right.
What kind of things could they have been hearing?
Well, without being in those meetings, it's hard to know exactly.
Yeah.
But I imagine, there's a lot of factors that come into play when you're talking about something like this.
Yeah.
Obviously, performance is a huge one.
Right.
But also power consumption. That's a big factor in data centers.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then you have software compatibility.
Right.
If the software isn't there, developers aren't going to use it.
Right.
So, if any one of those things was lagging behind, it might have just made sense for them to cut their losses.
Yeah, so it's like they had to weigh all these different factors, and it sounds like it just wasn't adding up for them.
It wasn't working.
So what's interesting is the article mentions that Falcon Shores is now being repurposed as like an internal test chip.
Yeah, that's unusual.
Yeah.
Typically, even if a chip is canceled, they'll still share it with key partners.
Right.
To get feedback and to start building out that software ecosystem.
Right, right.
So the fact that they're keeping this so close to the vest suggests that they're, really rethinking their whole approach.
So they're back at the drawing board in a sense.
It seems like it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess the question now is, what happens to Intel's AI ambitions?
Right.
Where do they go from here?
What are they going to do now?
Yeah, what are they going to do now?
Well, their current offering is the Gaudi 3 processor.
Right.
But that's been facing some of its own challenges. So, there have been some complaints about software compatibility.
Yeah.
A lack of tools and libraries that are optimized for Gaudi.
Yeah.
Which, when you're up against Nvidia, which has a very mature software ecosystem, that's a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, if the developers can't easily work with your hardware, then doesn't matter how good the hardware is.
Exactly. It's a non-starter.
Right.
So, that puts even more pressure on whatever comes next for Intel.
So speaking of what comes next, the article mentions Jaguar Shores, which is the successor to Falcon Shores.
Right.
But there aren't a lot of details available.
Yeah, we don't know a lot about it yet.
So what do we know?
Well, we know that it's intended for data centers.
Okay.
And that it represents kind of a shift in strategy for Intel.
Okay.
Well, they're talking about rack scale solutions.
Rack scale solutions.
Yeah, so instead of just focusing on individual chips,
they're
looking at building entire systems that are designed specifically for AI.
Okay, hold on. Rack scale solutions. I'm not sure I'm following.
Okay, yeah, so...
could you break that down a little bit?
So imagine like a whole rack of servers in a data center, right? But instead of it just being a collection of individual components, everything from the chips and the memory to the networking and the cooling, it's all designed to work together perfectly, like a finely tuned orchestra.
Okay.
Where every instrument is playing in harmony to create something truly special.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. So instead of just focusing on building a faster chip, they're building a whole ecosystem around it.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, and this rack scale approach could have several advantages.
Oh, yeah, like what?
Well, first of all, it allows for much tighter integration between the hardware and the software.
Okay.
Which could lead to some serious performance gains.
Right.
And second, it could simplify things for data center operators.
Okay.
Because they wouldn't need to piece together systems from different vendors.
Right, right.
And then finally, it could offer some significant energy savings because everything is optimized to work together efficiently.
So it sounds like they're really trying to leverage their strengths here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Intel's known for building, CPUs and chip manufacturing and these large-scale systems.
Yeah, they've got a lot of expertise in that area.
So it seems like they're taking what they're good at and applying it to this new space.
Right, and that could give them an edge in certain areas.
Yeah, for sure.
The article suggests that Intel's rack scale solutions might be particularly well suited for like natural language processing or recommendation engines.
Okay.
These are areas where their CPU technology could really shine.
So they're not trying to be everything to everyone.
Right.
They're focusing on areas where they have a competitive advantage.
Exactly. It's a smarter strategy than trying to compete head-on with Nvidia in every segment of the AI market.
Yeah, for sure. But even if they focus on specific areas, they still need to convince developers to use their platform.
You're absolutely right.
And right now, Nvidia has a huge lead in software and developer support.
Yeah, that's the biggest hurdle they face.
Yeah.
They need to build a robust software ecosystem around these rack-scale solutions, and they need to do it fast.
Yeah.
If they want to have any chance of catching up to Nvidia.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dig into this software challenge.
That sounds good.
And see what Intel might be able to do to overcome it.
Right.
So we were talking about how, Intel's really banking on this rack scale approach.
Yep.
But is this really like, a game changer, or is it just kind of repackaging old technology?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think on the surface, it might seem like they're just trying to catch up to Nvidia.
Right.
But I think if you look a little deeper, there's some hints that this could be more than just like a Me Too strategy.
Okay, what kind of hints are we talking about here?
Well, think about what Intel's traditionally been known for, right? Like they're really good at CPUs, chip manufacturing, building large-scale systems.
Yeah.
And now they're taking all that expertise and they're applying it to AI.
Okay, so it's like they're leveraging their existing strengths.
Exactly.
In this new arena.
Yeah, and that could give them an edge in certain areas.
In what way?
Well, like the article suggests that Intel's rack-scale solutions might be really well suited for specific types of AI workloads.
Okay.
Like natural language processing or recommendation engines.
Oh, interesting.
Those are areas where Intel's CPU technology could really shine.
So it's not like they're trying to be like a one-size-fits-all solution.
Oh, yeah.
They're kind of focusing on these niches where they have a competitive advantage.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
It's a much smarter strategy than trying to go head-to-head with Nvidia in every market segment.
Right.
Because Nvidia is really strong across the board.
Yeah, they've got a pretty good grip on things right now.
Yeah, they do.
But even if Intel focuses on, specific areas, they still need to get developers on board.
Absolutely.
And that's where Nvidia really has a huge advantage, right?
They do, yeah.
They've got like this massive software ecosystem and a ton of developer support.
Yeah.
So how can Intel even begin to compete with that?
Well, that's the million-dollar question.
Right?
That's really the biggest hurdle they face.
Yeah.
They have to build a robust software ecosystem around these rack-scale solutions.
Yeah.
And they have to do it quickly.
Right.
But hasn't Intel always struggled with software?
Yeah.
They have, yeah.
I mean, I remember reading about issues with their Gaudi processors.
Yeah, Gaudi has definitely had its share of challenges on the software side.
Right.
And I think part of the problem is that Intel came to the AI party a little late.
Yeah.
Nvidia had a head start in building out their software platform, and they've been really successful in attracting developers.
Yeah.
So Intel's playing catch up.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
No, it's not.
So, they really have their work cut out for them.
So what are they doing? How are they trying to address this software challenge?
Well, one strategy they're using is partnerships.
Okay.
The article mentions that they're working with several software companies to optimize their tools and libraries for Intel hardware.
So they're trying to get the software folks on board.
Exactly.
To make sure that everything works smoothly.
Yeah, they need to make it easy for developers to use their platform.
Right.
And they're also investing a lot in their own software development teams.
So kind of like a two-pronged approach.
Okay.
They're working with external partners and also building up their internal capabilities.
Right, and they're not just focusing on low-level programming tools. They're also working on these higher-level platforms and frameworks that make it easier for developers to actually build and deploy AI applications.
So they're trying to make the whole process more developer-friendly.
Yeah, they want to create like a seamless experience for developers.
Okay, so they're building the roads for their ecosystem.
I think that's a good analogy.
Yeah. So, they're doing a lot of things right,
Mm-hmm.
but the question is it enough?
Right.
Nvidia's not standing still.
No, they're not.
They're constantly innovating and expanding their own software ecosystem.
Right.
So it's going to be a really tough fight for Intel.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, they have a lot of ground to cover.
So what what are the chances that Intel can actually pull this off?
I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that they have the resources and the technical expertise to compete.
Right.
But they're facing an uphill battle.
For sure.
Nvidia is a really strong competitor.
Yeah. So what should we be watching for?
Well, I think there are 3 key things to keep an eye on.
Okay.
First, developer adoption.
Mm.
Are developers actually using Intel's software tools and platforms?
Right.
Second, performance benchmarks.
Okay.
How do Intel's rack scale solutions actually perform compared to Nvidia's offerings?
That's a big one.
Yeah. And then finally, market share.
Is Intel actually gaining ground in the AI hardware market?
So those are the metrics that we need to be tracking
Okay.
to see if Intel's strategy is actually working.
Yeah, those are the key indicators of success.
All right. So it sounds like we need to wait and see how this all plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch.
But in the meantime, I think it's worth talking about the broader implications of this move towards rack scale solutions.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, what does this mean for the future of AI hardware in general?
Right. Like, is this a sign of things to come?
Yeah, is this the direction that the whole industry is heading in?
Well, I think if we look beyond Intel, this points to a bigger shift in how we think about AI computing.
Okay, how so?
It's not just about building the fastest chip anymore.
Right.
It's about creating this whole ecosystem, this symphony of hardware and software working together seamlessly.
So instead of focusing on the individual components,
Right.
companies are starting to think about the entire system.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's interesting.
Right. Yeah. And this rack scale approach is just one example of that. We're also seeing this rise of specialized AI chips
Okay.
that are designed for specific tasks.
Right.
Like natural language processing or computer vision.
So more specialization,
Yeah.
more integration. But what does this mean for someone like me who's not building data centers?
Right.
How is this going to affect the average person?
That's a great question. Think about all the ways that AI is already starting to touch our lives, like personalized recommendations, voice assistants, self-driving cars.
Yeah, for sure.
As these rack scale solutions and specialized chips become more powerful and efficient, the cost of AI processing is going to come down.
Okay.
And that's going to open up a whole new world of possibilities.
So we're talking about AI becoming more accessible,
Yeah.
more integrated into our daily lives.
Exactly.
Wow.
We might see a future where AI is seamlessly integrated into our homes, our workplaces, our cities. Imagine like AI helping us manage our health, optimize our energy consumption,
Wow.
or even personalize our education.
That's both exciting and a little bit scary.
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, it's cool to think about all the potential benefits, but it also raises some questions about, the ethical implications
Oh, absolutely.
of having all this AI in our lives.
Yeah, as AI becomes more powerful and more pervasive, it's really important that we think about the ethical implications.
Right.
Things like bias in algorithms,
Yeah.
data privacy, the potential impact on jobs.
Those are all big issues.
Yeah, these are things we need to consider very carefully.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about how we use it.
Exactly. Technology is a tool, and like any tool can be used for good or for evil.
Yeah.
It's up to us as a society to make sure that AI is developed and used responsibly.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to make sure that AI is benefiting humanity,
Right.
not the other way around.
Exactly.
So to bring it back to Intel, do you think their rack scale strategy is going to be successful? I mean, will they be able to catch up to Nvidia?
It's still too early to say for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they've made some bold moves, and they definitely have the resources and the expertise to compete.
Right.
But like we've been saying, they're up against a really formidable opponent in Nvidia.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll just have to wait and see how this all unfolds.
It sounds like the AI hardware landscape is going to be pretty exciting to watch in the coming years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The innovation is happening at such a rapid pace,
Mm-hmm.
and the stakes are incredibly high.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating time to be following this industry.
Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of AI hardware.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From Intel's strategic pivot to the broader implications of rack-scale solutions and the ethical considerations surrounding AI.
It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed this.
Me too.
Hopefully you've gained some valuable insights.
Yeah.
And a deeper understanding of this rapidly evolving field.
Absolutely.
And remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation. The
Yeah.
world of technology is constantly evolving.
Yeah. It never stops.
And there's always something new to learn.
That's for sure.
So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep your mind open to the possibilities.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.
All right, so we spent a lot of time, really digging into Intel and their AI strategy.
Yeah.
The canceled Falcon Shores, this whole rack scale thing with Jaguar Shores. But I kind of want to zoom out a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
What does all this mean for the future of AI hardware in general?
That's a good question.
Is this a sign of things to come?
Well, I think if we look beyond just Intel,
Yeah.
this really points to a broader shift.
In how we think about AI computing.
How so?
It's not just about, building the fastest chip anymore.
Right.
It's about creating a complete ecosystem, like a finely tuned orchestra.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Where all the pieces work together in harmony.
Right. So it's not just about the hardware.
Oh.
It's about the software,
Yes.
integration, the whole package.
Exactly.
So this rack scale approach is just one example of that.
Right.
But we're also seeing specialized chips designed for specific tasks, like natural language processing, computer vision.
Right, and that trend is only going to continue.
So more specialization, more integration. But what does this mean for the average person?
Yeah, good question.
I'm not building data centers, so how's all this going to affect me?
Well, think about all the ways AI is already touching our lives.
Okay.
Personalized recommendations, voice assistants, self-driving cars.
Yeah, for sure.
As these technologies get more powerful and more efficient,
yeah,
the cost of AI processing is going to come down.
Oh, okay.
And that's going to open up a whole new world of possibilities.
So AI is going to become more accessible.
Yeah.
More integrated into our daily lives.
Exactly.
Wow.
We might see a future where AI is seamlessly integrated into our homes, our workplaces, our cities.
So AI helping us manage our health. Yeah. Or optimize our energy consumption. Or even personalize our education.
Exactly.
That's pretty wild.
It is.
I mean, it's exciting, but it's also a little bit scary.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
There are definitely some ethical considerations here.
Oh, absolutely.
As AI becomes more powerful and more pervasive, we need to be very careful about how we use it.
Yeah.
I mean, things like bias in algorithms, data privacy, the potential impact on jobs.
These are all really important issues.
Yeah, we can't just ignore those.
No, we need to have these conversations.
Right.
We need to make sure that AI is being used for good.
Yeah, we need to make sure that it's benefiting humanity.
Exactly.
It's not the other way around.
Right.
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap things up.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
Learned a lot about Intel and their AI strategy. Talked about the broader implications of this move towards rack-scale solutions.
Yeah.
And discussed some of the ethical considerations that we need to keep in mind as AI becomes more integrated into our lives.
Absolutely.
So hopefully you've enjoyed this deep dive.
Yeah, I hope so.
And come away with a better understanding of this exciting and rapidly evolving field.
It's definitely a fascinating time to be following this space.
It is.
Yeah, there's a lot happening.
Yeah, and we'll be here to cover it every step of the way.
Sounds good.
So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.